You're live.
This is Senate Transportation Committee. It's Thursday, March 14th. We're talking about the House Transportation Bill, which isn't passed the House yet, but we're starting to look at some sections. And in particular, there's a section 24 that deals with a report from the PUC. So we asked the PUC to come in and give us their opinion on this section. So Mr. Howe, you can put yourself on the record and let us know what you think of section 24.
Right. Good morning, Micah Howe, staff attorney at the Public Utility Commission, here to speak about section 24 of H868. I have reviewed it, and we don't really have any concerns about the language itself. This was an issue that actually came up during testimony before the House Transportation Committee, and they had raised the possibility of some discussion of line extension tariffs during that meeting. That was the first that we had heard of it. So this was not utility or commission proposed language.
Right.
For the past 3 years, and again, in 2025, January of 2025, we will prepare a report pursuant to Act 55. Which is an act that requires utilities to implement electric vehicle rates.
Right.
And this will be an additional reporting component to that report. Our process in preparing that report usually involves gathering all the utilities, asking questions. This particular item would be an additional and new topic that would be included in the report. So
you would, so since it's making a reference to that Act 55 report, you would add it to that report? I guess that's what it is.
Yes, sir. I think it specifically requires us to add it to that report. So this would be an additional topic. Up until this point, the report has really been focused on the rates themselves and utilities progress. There are a variety of criteria in Act 55 that the utilities have to satisfy with their rates. This would be a side topic, I think, but not totally unrelated.
But it could be unrelated. I mean, the line extension tariffs may or may not have anything to do with electric vehicle charging.
That's correct. So there are a variety of drivers of line upgrades, and I did want to parse out line extensions versus service upgrades. Right. We do have a rule that addresses line extensions. It's Rule 5.600, and that was became effective in 2008. So it's a few years old, and it's just a generic line extension tariff, and generally applies to new service, new customers, not necessarily upgrades. Upgrading occurs, as I said, in a variety of contexts. Installing solar panels, drive an upgrade, heat pumps. There can be any number of reasons why you need a service upgrade and transformer upgrade in connection with that.
And so you have to do an analysis and comparison of all their practices related to, so you're going to get a report on all the tariffs that each utility has for line extensions, which may or may not have anything to do with electric vehicles. And then you're also going to have to do an analysis of comparison of their practices related to line extensions and service upgrades. I assume this is, when we can ask them and not ask you, but I assume they're doing this from the issues that some customers are having with some of the utilities, like having to wait for transformers or being told by their service provider that they can't get a car charger because they don't have the ability to do the service upgrade, or they'd have to pay for it.
I don't know what's driving it.
Yeah.
Those issues certainly do come up. Transformers in particular, we see regularly, but just with supply chain issues, it's hard to get upgraded transformers at this point.
I apologize, I was late. I had a management meeting. I guess the question then is, in light of your comments, did someone from the PUC testify? I mean, I'm just like, what is the genesis of the language and an evaluation of what is the work involved, the complexity? you know, et cetera. When we look at it, and I guess I'm the one who always is saying, what are we asking our and obligating resources to do, and why, and the complexity, the time, and what will be the utility. I guess that's not a good term to use here, but you know, a utility of the study itself. So I guess we would need to find out a bit more, but I guess what I'm really concerned about is, and Senator Perchik read the language, what are we really asking for here? What is the enormity of it? What is the complexity? What are the resources that it would require? And how would it be value or application as we move forward?
Well, I think Senator Perchlik laid out probably the driver behind this. I don't actually know. This came up, as I was saying earlier, during House Transportation testimony on our electric vehicle report, the Public Utility Commission's electric vehicle report. This perhaps was even more of a topic of discussion during that testimony on line extension. So I assume that there is some concern over line upgrades necessitated by electric vehicles. This language is not limited to electric vehicles. And to answer your question about workload, I think this would fit within our ordinary process in terms of gathering the information, how much work it would require the utilities to undertake to gather this information. I'm not certain about, because there are numerous drivers of line upgrades.
If you could do a collection of just here's all the tariffs or line extensions, here's rule 5.6. But if you have to do an analysis and comparison of all their practices related to those, I mean, I'm assuming that would take some.
That sounds like college compare and contrast.
Right. I mean, it seems to me
The blue
like
book.
it's a decent amount of work for PUC staff to. I guess it depends on how much effort you want to put into it, but it seems like it would be a decent amount of hours.
The tariffs themselves we have and are fairly uniform as a result of us having a rule in place. So they largely track the rule. But as I said, that's new customer line extensions, practices related to line upgrades. So going from a 100 amp to a 200 amp service, potentially upgrading transformers could vary between the utilities.
And that seems to be what would be the issue, right?
Right.
Rather than somebody building a new house and needing to get some poles and a line extension there.
I mean, my worry is that it would take PUC staff quite a while to gather it all. The utilities would have to do it, and then also you're going to have to do an analysis and comparison of it, which I don't know what that exactly means. What you're analyzing it for,
And comparing the two.
I mean, is it effectiveness around electric vehicle adoption, or is it something about cost allocation, or like what is
the way I would read that now is that we would look at the practices of the various utilities on line upgrades, whether or not cabin to electric vehicles, and then to the extent there are differences in the practices, and there may not be, there may be substantial differences. I don't know the answer to that question right now.
Yeah,
that's something we find out, but it could be a lot of work. If they all do the same thing, there wouldn't be much to contrast, and we'd be left with the analysis part.
So am I gathering from your testimony that you don't mind doing this report? Is that what you're saying? Like you?
I think it could be narrowed down to focus on EVs. If that's the real concern here, that would help, and it would narrow the issue, and it would certainly narrow the workload on the utilities that would benefit them.
Particularly some of our smaller utilities.
Right.
Which we have a number of them up in our region.
I assume that's the driver for this, but we can also ask the House when they come in to give us some more information of why they did it. Anything else you want to tell us?
Just in terms of tailoring, if there are tailoring, I think we'd like to get a view of the language and maybe have some input on if it is narrowed, just to make sure everything.
Well, if you want
makes
to
sense.
suggest any language, we welcome it. Like if you say, like, here's language that would help us as we draft this to make it clear what the work would be and also to limit the work to what's doable. If you can do that. If not, we will try to come up with
Well,
something.
I would try to do that. My only concern is I don't know what the interest is. So if there is something
Likewise.
specific that we are trying to achieve here, I think that would be useful to know before trying to suggest a revision to the language. I'm not sure what the driving inputs were here or the concern is that we're trying to address. So in order to make sure that we're suggesting language that still achieves those goals, it'd be useful to know what's behind this.
Okay.
And you don't know.
Yeah. Mr. Faber has come.
Just for the record, I'm Greg Faber with PUC as well. We would be happy to send over some proposed language that narrows it down to EV cars and to service upgrades rather than line extensions,
Yeah.
if the committee would.
Seems like that's
Like to
really
see
the
that?
issue.
I think that's the issue. 'Cause
Are they talking about when they put a new line in, that they just wanna make sure that there's enough juice on there to further electrical, demands of the modern world? I mean, is that what they're trying to get at?
I don't know what they're getting. I think
That's a rhetorical question.
I think partly is there are people that have wanted to do a electric car charger, and the utility said it's either you have to wait time, spend a lot of money, where if you're in one utility territory, they'll give you a free charger and do it tomorrow. If you're in another utility, you have to wait 6 months and pay $5,000. So my guess is that was the kind of what they wanted to get at. But that's line extension, I think,
The
is
difference
different. I would
is-
just say service upgrades for electric vehicles. So if you guys want to present how you would add that to
Would
the,
you like me to just send it to?
yeah, you can send it to Megan, or you can, and when we'll have Donna, now that Antia's not here, Donna Russo Savage,
Okay, I can
she's back.
see her around.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
So
that'd be great.
to just push my point a little further, because I'm just swirling around with this, but you just, if you're gonna put language in there about what a line upgrade is and what it needs to be, we can't be narrow-sighted to say it's just for electric vehicles. It's for heat pumps, it's for anything that we can foresee coming in the future that's gonna require, it's even transformer, it's wire size, it's transformer size, it's whatever it is gonna be to push that power out to the future, to make sure that any houses that jump on this line and future times is gonna have enough juice to power the modern world.
But then that's a much broader assignment than what we're talking about.
Well,
So that's, I guess, gonna be one of the issues.
Right, and I guess the question is for,
I don't wanna narrow it down if that's what it's trying to get to.
right, I guess it's also a question for the transportation bill, do we want to get into a larger issue about the grid and beneficial electrification in general, or are we really just talking about trying to add to the electric car charging rate report about other things that affect electric vehicles? Since that report just comes, I think a report just comes to the transportation committee.
It is broader, circulated more broadly than just transportation.
The energy committees,
Energy as well.
transportation, and then the two energy.
Is that the report on clean transportation incentives?
No,
That's a
this is
different
the
report.
EV utility
Oh,
rates.
okay.
It's just about the rates that the utilities charge for charging. Okay, well, we'll look for that language and be in touch as we work on the bill.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Heat pumps,
They're big.
There are three of them.
Well, they don't work in a big Greek revival house. I'd have to have about 20 of them.
you need to, how's the coal fired?
I haven't,
It's not cold enough to get the coal.
I'd have to have my front door open. I'm just trying to get it out of my cellar, but the last couple winters have been so mild. If you stoked up a coal furnace, you'd drive yourself out.
Thank
Sit
you.
out on my porch
Yeah.
in January.
I thought maybe it's been a warm winter because you had been using it, been leaking out into the environment. Burke was gonna say, shut that
I
thing
just want to
down.
clean up my cellar, but I'm not making much progress.
Can't help you with that.
No. And with all this, snow and moisture and stuff, I have my little brook that goes through my, through my basement.
By the cold pile?
We're by it, and then it goes out and goes down Walden Road, and so, but as long as it keeps flowing, what do
Yeah,
I care?
my in-laws house had they just had a river that would come through their basement.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't build up and stuff, no problem.
Is Patrick Murphy joining us on Zoom or we're
In
waiting?
person,
Okay.
So I'm sure he'll be right along. Let me find out where he is.
you can go up live.
We can go off live and